Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Pujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmaja Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam. After Ravana created so much havoc on the battlefield, even Valmiki gives us a very dramatic account of the kind of destruction, havoc, mayhem, and hurt that he subjected all the Vanaras to on the battlefield. Many Vanaras were killed. Some of them we heard that their sides, parshvas, were all cut off. Some had their skulls smashed. Some eyes were poked out. They lost their eyes. And so Valmiki ends chapter 95 with Dashananaha Krodha Vivratane Netro. Vivrata Netro. Vivrata, with very dramatic, strong, angry, furious eyes. Yato abhyeti. So wherever he went, Rathena Sankhye, in the battlefield on his chariot, Tatastasya, Sharapravegam, in all those places, Sharapravegam, with the velocity or momentum, the impact of his arrows was so strong. Sodhumna Shekur Hariyuthapaste, none of the monkey warriors were able to defend themselves against the mad fury of his arrows. Such was the condition. Now, when the Vanaras are being completely tormented like that by Ravana, it's but natural that their leader, quality of a leader, is they jump in when their team is under severe distress. So guess who jumps right into the battlefield? Our hero Sugriva. The scene is that the entire battlefield is completely strewn with hundreds and thousands and millions of monkeys whose limbs have been cut off, heads have been cut off, we heard all sorts of ways in which they were mutilated by the 10-headed monster Ravana. And what to do? None of them had the strength to withstand Ravana's fury. Just as anybody in this world does not have the capacity to stand when a mighty fire, a blazing fire is anywhere near. Te ardita nishitair baner. All of them were ardita. They were all distressed. Nishitair Baner, very sharp arrows of Ravana. Kroshanto Vipradudruvuhu, and with severe screaming, they scattered themselves everywhere. And the visual Valmiki gives us is Pavakar, Pavakarchi Samavishta Dahyamana Yatha Gajaha. Just the way when there is a forest fire, the elephants, although they're very mighty, even elephants don't stand a chance. They're loudly trumpeting and scattering everywhere because the forest fire is very, very intense. We sing in the mornings every day. Samsara Davanala. That this material existence, samsara, the never-ending process of birth and death, is like a terrible forest fire. And the only way is Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ghana. Out of great compassion, there is a shower of grace by the spiritual master who arrives like a cloud. Ghana Ghana. So these elephants are scattered everywhere. And in the monkey army, there is severe confusion because there is panic and they're all running away, just the way strong winds would dissipate clouds in the sky. So Ravana is compared, Ravana's fury is compared to a forest fire, scattering elephants, or the mighty wind scattering clouds in the sky. Now, in both the analogies, both the elephants and the clouds are very mighty. But what to do when there is a forest fire or a mighty wind? Even these mighty uh, elephant-like, cloud-like beings are being completely scattered and panic-stricken on the battlefield. And cutting through the entire army of the Vanaras, Ravana came to confront Sri Ramachandra. Sugriva-stan kapindraštva bhagnan vidravitan rane gulme sushenam nikshiptya chakre yuddhe dhrutam manaha. When Sugriva saw what Ravana has done and is coming close to Sri Ramachandra, he gave the command to Sushena, the doctor. He gave the command to Sushena and he himself decided, Yuddhe Dhrutam Manaha Chakre. He made up his mind that he will get involved in the fighting. Now, because he had a substitute, that is Sushena, who will watch and give orders to the rest of the army, Sugriva marched towards Ravana and his army. And what did he have in his hand? A tree. There is Ravana shooting sharp arrows, which means he can shoot from afar. Sugriva has a tree, which he can also throw, but it's different. The pan scale is not equal in terms of the skill, I shouldn't say skill, but the technology that they are fighting with. Now, while Sugriva is marching towards Ravana, a whole bunch of Vanaras followed Sugriva with mighty boulders, rocks, stones in their hand, except Sushena because he is to command the rest of the army. So Sugriva went with his own battalion to fight with Ravana and his armies. Then, as Sugriva is walking there, he is roaring mightily. Mahata Svana Swarena. Svana is sound. Mahata Svana. With a great sound, Swarena Sugrivaha Nanarda. He was roaring. He was angry. And he's ready for battle. And as he's going there, he's finishing up many Rakshasas who anyone seems to be an obstruction or an impediment on his path. And as Sugriva, this king of the Vanaras, is walking through, there are these gigantic Rakshasas. He's killing one of them, each one of them with such strength, just the way wind knocks off mighty trees when the universal destruction is about to begin. Yuganta Samaye, Yuga Anta Samaye, at the end of, let's say, day of Brahma or end of creation, Vayuhu Pravruddha Pravruddha Nagaman Iva. Nagaman, trees. And he threw, he and his army are throwing mighty showers of rocks and boulders, just the way a cloud would release hailstorms. Just last week, there was a mighty hailstorm in certain parts of Cleveland. Of course, where we were, it was nice and bright and sunny. Just 15 miles away, there was a horrendous hailstorm. And someone showed me a video because their car got beaten up. Less than tennis ball, but bigger than a ping pong ball, hails falling from the sky, and not one and two here, like a shower. And their car got dented so much, people couldn't walk on the street because it was very, very intense. And these Rakshasas, their heads got crushed, shattered, and the mighty standing like this Rakshasas started to crumble like mountains would fall. And then these Rakshasas started to jump out of their chariots and loudly shouting, "Oh, Sugriva, Sugriva," because they knew Sugriva is there fighting. While they're being killed by Sugriva, they're all running here and there. At that time, not shouting Sugriva, Sugriva. They're all shouting Virupāksa's name because their leader is Virupāksa in that area where Sugriva is. Virupāksaha swakam nama dhvani vishravya rakshasaha. You could hear the battlefield with the sound of the name of Virupāksa. And Virupāksa, who himself was carrying a mighty bow, it was very difficult to overpower, got off from his chariot and mounted on a big elephant. So he has strategic advantage because those who are higher, they have an advantage, and those who are lower may not have that advantage. As soon as he got on this mighty elephant, the elephant itself is very, very strong. Virupāksa roared loudly to as if equal Sugriva's roar. And he rushed towards all the Vanaras. And as he's going through, he's raining these mighty arrows on Sugriva, who's at the forefront of the battle, and somehow was able to stabilize some of the Rakshasas who were so scared of Sugriva and Sugriva's army because they're coming with a mighty vengeful attitude because they want to fight Ravana. And as Virupāksa is letting out these roars and causing distress in the Vanara army, slowly the Rakshasas are gaining some confidence and are cheering Virupāksa. So there is, on the one side, they're cheering Virupāksa, on the other side, they're cheering Sugriva. Now, Virupāksa is releasing so many arrows, one after the other, piercing every monkey on the battlefield, including Sugriva. And the more they're being pierced, the more they're becoming determined to kill Virupāksa. As Sugriva is running towards him, he's completely uprooted a tree and sprang forward and started to fight Virupāksa, who's on the elephant. And Virupāksa himself looks like a mighty elephant. So think of it as an elephant on an elephant, not in terms of weight, but size and power and dominance. And Sugriva gave a mighty blow to Virupāksa, and Virupāksa became very overwhelmed. And the strike of the blow was so strong that the elephant on which Virupāksa is sitting got pushed back at least 4 steps. Now, elephants generally don't walk backwards because they're mighty, but Sugriva's punch was so strong that the elephant receded. Now, Virupāksa got very upset at Sugriva. He jumped down from his elephant, caught hold of his shield that was made of bull hide. That means strong, it's tough. Picked up his sword and with very quick paces went towards Sugriva to fight with him. And he's come face to face with Sugriva. Sugriva, he doesn't have sword and shield. He picked up a mighty rock. And Sugriva, as he carried that rock, he himself looked like a mighty cloud. And that wonderful Sugriva, very enraged, hurled that rock at Virupāksa. You can only imagine the speed and the strength with which he would have released it, and that the rock, as it is coming towards Virupāksa, he jumped aside. And as soon as he jumped aside, he saved himself from the impact of the mighty boulder, and with his sword, he struck Sugriva. Now Sugriva got severely wounded just by one stroke of Virupāksa's sword. And so much so that Sugriva fell to the ground unconscious for a while. And after a while, when he came back to his consciousness, Sugriva sprang back on his feet. And with his fist, hit Virupāksa on his chest with such strength. Now, Sugriva is obviously the thumb with which, or the thud with which the fist landed on Virupāksa's chest. Virupāksa became even more enraged. So Virupāksa shattered Sugriva's armor on his body with a sword, and then kicked Sugriva with such strength that Sugriva fell down on the ground. And again, Sugriva, after all, is a Vanara, a king of Vanaras. He sprung back up on his feet. And Virupāksa also springing up with his feet. Both are standing in front of each other, and Sugriva then slapped Virupāksa. And the way the slap landed on Virupāksa, it sounded like the clasp of a thunder. However thunder sounds. Now, as Sugriva is trying to slap Virupāksa, Virupāksa is trying to dodge it. And then Virupāksa hit Sugriva again. Now, as Sugriva is trying to punch him and slap him, and Virupāksa is fighting back, Sugriva became even more angry. And when Sugriva saw that he's trying to slap Virupāksa, and Virupāksa is dodging it and being able to manipulate, Sugriva saw another opportunity to really hit Virupāksa very hard. So then, with another hand, Sugriva slapped Virupāksa on his temple, right by the side of his forehead. And that was so strong. Can you imagine being hit here, that what happens to the eyeballs inside the skull, the palm and the strength with which Sugriva slapped Virupaksha on his temple. Now that sounded like something being hit by a stroke of lightning. And so Virupaksha fell on the ground, vomiting blood, and not just from his mouth. Valmiki says, from all 9 holes of his body. The 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, the 2 ears, mouth, penis, and anus. Every 9 holes, the 9 gates, as we hear in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, he was oozing blood. He was so badly beaten by Sugriva. One slap on his temple. Vivrata Nayana, Vivrata Nayana, his eyes were wobbling inside his skull. Krodhat Sphenam Rudhiraplutam. Virupaksha Sphenam, his frothing in his mouth. Serpenum, not spenum. Serpenum. Pena is foam or froth. So along with bleeding, his mouth was frothing with spit or saliva. Dadrushtaste Virupaksham Virupakshataram Kritam. And that's the poetic way of Valmiki describing the death of Virupaksha. Dadrushuste Virupaksham Virupakshataram Kritam. He was called Virupaksha, which means he had Virupa Aksha, ugly eyes, or something with distorted eyes, or something with his eyes was very monstrous. And he became, true to his name Virupaksha, Sugriva's slap was so intense that he became Virupakshataram, like even more Virupaksha. Already an ugly-eyed fellow became even more ugly-eyed by the slap of Sugriva. Because in Sanskrita, taram and tamam are added as comparative and superlative. Purusha, Purushottara, Purusha Uttama. Like that. Purush Virupaksha Taram. Spurantam Parivartantam Parshvena Rudirokshitam Karunam cha Vinardanta Dadrushu Kapayo Ripum. When the Vanaras saw their enemy, Virupaksha, completely bathed in blood, all 9 holes bleeding, oozing blood, tossing about because he can't survive this. And the Virupaksha, the way he fell on the ground, he was rocking from side to side from the impact of Sugriva's slap, and his whole body is bleeding. He's frothing in his mouth and crying piteously, making loud sounds. Ah. Now, this is how face to face, hand to hand, Sugriva and Virupaksha fought, and suddenly the Vanaras became even more inspired by their leader. And the Vanaras began to fight the Rakshasas with renewed energy and vigor. And both sides, the armies looked like two massive oceans coming to meet each other, both roaring like the oceans, and the oceans that had burst through their shores. Sometimes we see, I went to Dhanushkoti a year and a half ago, and you can see on the one side, they call it the Bay of Bengal, and the other side, the Indian Ocean. The colors of the oceans are different. At least that time when I was there, the tides also seemed different, which is very interesting. The colors of the waters are meeting right there. The Bay of Bengal was a little quieter, and the Indian or the Arabic, no, Indian Ocean was having large waves and clashing into the waters of the Bay of Bengal. Of course, they're all mixing into what we call the Indian Ocean. Now that Virupaksha, Vinashitam Preksha Virupanetram Mahabalam tam Hariparthivena, Hariparthiva ena. Hariparthiva, uh, Hariparthivena, by the king of the monkeys, Vinashitam, having seen the destruction of Virupanetram, the guy whose eyes were ugly or distorted or disformed, Mahabalam, although very, very strong, Balam Sametam, Kapirakshasanam, Udvatra Anga Pratimam Babhuva. The king of the monkeys, as he killed Virupāksa, the army under Sugriva, and the army under Virupāksa, the Rakshasas, the way they got together, it looked like uh, Mudvritta, Mudvritta, like the Ganga when it gets mixed with dirt. It has two different colors. The Vanaras and the Rakshasas met very, very badly. And the fighting continued very severely. Now, as the fight is continuing, they were destroying each other left, right, and center. The conflict was too intense. It looked like how the waters of lakes become very tepid and then hot in the midsummer when the sun is very, very strong. Now, Ravana, uh, who's also on the battlefield, the news reached him that Virupāksa has been killed by Sugriva, and so Ravana became very angry. Babhuva dvigunam kruddho. His anger doubled. He felt a sense of agony, pain, grief, but also when there is agony and grief, from them comes anger. And he was seeing that his army is becoming thinner. We heard last week the size of the army, how many hundreds of thousands of chariots and how many hundreds of thousands of elephants, cavalry, infantry, all of them came into being. And Ravana could tell that the army is thinning up because they are dying at the hands of the Vanaras. So Ravana in the battlefield turned to Mahodara. Maha Udara becomes Mahodara. Very, very great belly, strong, great belly. And told him that if I have to win this battle, my entire hope is on you, Mahodara. You are the one who can either make it or break it for me. So go and show your valor to the Vanaras. Show them. Now, this is the time for you to repay your debt to me. And what is the debt? I have been maintaining you for all these years. Bhartrupinda, I have been bearing you. Kalo ayam niveshtum sadhu yuddhatam. Make it worthwhile, make it correct. Your time to do good on all the benefits I have conferred upon you. Mahodara said, yes, sir. And he himself felt so encouraged by Ravana that Mahodara, with a very hostile army, rushed into the Vanara army just like a firefly or a moth rushes into the fire. Patanga iva pavakam sa pravishesha arisenam. Arisenam, the army of the enemies, pravishesha, entered just like a moth rushes towards a flame. And he felt very encouraged, emboldened that finally Ravana has given me the opportunity to make good on whatever he has done for me, and I have to express my loyalty to him. And he created havoc like anything in the Vanara army. And the havoc was such that uh, they wanted to fight him. So the monkeys carried large rocks, and trying to defend themselves. And they were also very courageous, emboldened by that there is Sugriva on our side. And they also started destroying a lot of Rakshasas. So there is huge casualties on both sides. When Mahodara saw this, he became angry. His anger is going on increasing, and so he started severing the heads, the hands, the feet, the thighs of all the monkeys around where he was. So the fight, the anger became so intense that he was cutting them off. And along with it's not just Mahodara, all the Rakshasas are also attacking simultaneously, parallelly, and the monkeys were being beaten up like anything. And so some of the monkeys ran to take shelter of Sugriva. When Sugriva heard what Mahodara was doing and how his army needed his protection, Sugriva again picked up a mighty rock. The rock, it looked like a mountain. Okay, the king of monkeys, with full energy, hurled that mountain on Mahodara. And in the middle of the battlefield, as Mahodara is fighting, this mountain fell on Mahodara. And yet Mahodara was the least bit agitated. He cut it to pieces with his arrows, although it was very difficult. And by his arrows, that mountain itself was split into 1,000 fragments by a series of arrows that Mahodara had released. And all the rock fragments fell on the ground just like a flock of frightened vultures. Now Sugriva became upset. How dare he smash the mountain that I threw on him? And so Sugriva uh, picked up a sal tree. Now sal tree, we know, has very, very hard wood. And this is the sal tree that not one but seven that were pierced by Ramachandra's arrow. All seven of them. So Sugriva had picked up a sal tree, which is strong wood, and flung it towards Mahodara, and Mahodara split all the tree into many pieces. And not only that he split the tree, he was shooting arrows that were cutting Sugriva. They were lacerating with wounds all over his body. Then Sugriva saw a bludgeon. Bludgeon is this weapon that has a stick, a chain, and a ball of iron or wood that is covered with spikes of iron. Sugriva picked that up. Sugriva took the bludgeon and hit Mahodara's horses with a lot of strength. Now, the strength with which Sugriva was hitting the horses, Mahodara leaped out of his chariot because the horses had died. And then Mahodara took up his mace. In Sanskrit or Hindi, we call it Gada. This is what Lord Balaram carries. And in many pictures, they show Hanuman carrying a Gada. So one is holding a Gada, the other is holding a bludgeon, and they're both roaring like two mighty bulls who look like two heavy water-laden clouds charged with lightning and coming close for an encounter. Tata kruddo gadam tasmai chikshepa rajnicharaha jwalantim bhaskarabhasam sugrivaya mahodara. So Mahodara took the gada and with great impact hit Sugriva. and that Gada was shining like the sun. As the Gada is coming to hit Sugriva, Sugriva picked up his bludgeon, who himself was so strong, and Sugriva's eyes had turned a red, coppery color in rage, struck the mace of Mahodara with his own bludgeon, and the mace fell to the ground, and the bludgeon also fell to the ground with great velocity. Sugriva then picked up a steel club from the ground, because there's so many weapons all fallen on the ground, and this weapon of steel was encrusted with gold on all sides. Sugriva lifted it up and flung it on Mahodara. And Mahodara is also having another mace, and these two weapons collided with each other as if two missiles hit each other and fell to the ground. Now their weapons are shattered. The two warriors with so much strength, who looked like two mighty fires, now started to punch each other with their fists, roaring again and again. Jagnastutastau tada anyonyam, with each against each other. Nadantau, they were roaring. Cha punah punaha, again and again they were roaring. And they were walking around on the earth's surface, sneering at each other, fisting and punching each other. And once they would hit each other, they would both fall on the ground, and they would both spring up at the same time. Neither was willing to let go, and they pushed each other with their arms, almost like wrestling with each other. And they're two champions. It's not like one is weak, they're very, very strong. Now, Mahodara was also very quick on his feet. And while they are wrestling, suddenly Mahodara picks up a sword that was not far from him on the ground. And Sugriva, who noticed that, also picked up a huge sword. And so from fist fighting to wrestling, suddenly they are into sword fighting. And these two warriors, who were very good with weapons, both very angry, are now having this fantastic sword fight on the battlefield. They moved very swiftly from left to right, from right to left. They are hitting each other with these swords, and both were very intending to become victorious. Now, Mahodara got a chance and hit the sword on Sugriva's armor or coat of previously the armor was struck off. Under that was a coat of mail, which is like a sheet made of iron chains, so that way arrows don't pierce through easily. Now Sugriva, who himself is like a mighty elephant, while Mahodara is hitting him on his coat of mail, Sugriva in his hand, that the sword that he had, swung it in such a way that cut off Mahodara's head. And so that head, along with the kirita, the helmet, the earrings, started rolling on the ground. And this was all going on while Mahodara is extracting his sword out of Sugriva's chest. And at the same time, Sugriva cut off his head. And as the head fell down and rolled, this mighty body of Mahodara fell on the ground. And suddenly, Mahodara is killed, dead. Now, all the monkeys began to cheer Sugriva. Yeah, fantastic, amazing, yeah, Sugriva. Now, Ravana, who heard the news of Mahodara being killed, because he had told Mahodara, my hope of victory is on you. And so when he heard this, Ravana just went into a fit of rage. And suddenly, Sri Ramachandra looked very happy, because he's getting the news. And he's also there to see that Mahodara has also been killed. All the Rakshasas bent their head in shame because their mighty leaders, Virupāksa and Mahodara, were killed by Sugriva. Now, some of them became very panicked and ran away from the battlefield. Sugriva, he himself is the son of the sun god. He stood there on the battlefield like a shining sun, with its mighty rays of effulgence. Mahodaram tu vinipatya bhumau Mahagirehe. Mahagirehe looked like the great mountain. Suryatmajas tatra. Surya Atmaja, the son of the sun god. Raraja Lakshmya Surya. He looked himself like a sun that is glowing with its rays. So Tejaso Abhiriva Pragrushya. Pragrushya, the sun itself is very formidable. Now, Sugriva scored victory on Virupāksa and Mahodara. And all the Vanaras were gazing at Sugriva in awe. And suddenly in the sky, Siddhas, Yakshas, who were all followers of Kubera, and so many other celestial beings, both in the sky and standing on the surface of the earth, became overwhelmed with delight at Sugriva's mighty heroic achievement. But there is one more fellow left. His name is Mahaparshva. That would be chapter 98. And we'll visit that next week. Right now, we can become mesmerized in Sugriva's fantastic fighting spirit of killing Virupāksa and Mahodara. That's all I have for you today. Any thoughts or reflections you want to express something? I'll give you a couple of minutes. If not, just soak in the story of Sugriva's mighty valor and just be amazed at the kind of strength not only he has, being Surya's son, but empowered by being in Ramachandra's army. Now, there are people on Ravana's side also who are very, very strong. But you see, they don't have the empowerment of Sri Rama. So strength alone is not, it's necessary but not sufficient. Because strength, intelligence, beauty, education, wealth, whatever gifts, whatever skills one may have, if not empowered by the Lord, which means not directed towards the Lord's seva, can become defeated and or can be used for worldly happiness at most, not the joy of seva. Okay. Some thoughts? If not, don't feel obliged. We can meet again next week.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One second, I got to put this one on so I can hear you clearly. Yes, go ahead. I heard two voices.
Mine is just appreciation, bro. It's like a cinematic scene only, how both killings, especially that with the sword. Usually in movies also they show once a villain hit with the sword, they will use that opportunity and kill them. It's better than that.
It's all taken from Valmiki. I mean, the way he has described it, as we're reading the verses, it's like, wow, it's like a movie happening in the front of our eyes. All happening in very, very quick speed. He is being hit here. But Sugriva finds nice opportunity to cut off his head.
Your explanation also wonderful.
Well, just the verses are like that. I'm just reading the verses. Thank you, Krishna Sundar. Okay, anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I like to listen all the slokas the way you are reading and expressing word to word, and it is like I explained, which is it was so nice. And I have one question about the name Virupāksa. Why? I know it is the Virupa of the Akshas, like eyes, and why is the name given to Shiva also the same way? Is it the same reason or any other thing?
Because he has 3 eyes.
Yeah.
So the same name, like one may wonder, right? Why would a mother name her son Virupāksa?
Yeah.
So the intent may be one thing, but the another name is just how you take it. Different meanings are there. It's called Vibhishana, that who puts fear in everyone. But mother, he has that name Vibhishana, so he's like powerful. By him, other people are put into fear.
I would have gone home. I came immediately. I told, get ready, I'll drop her. So that's when she called you.
Someone's phone is unmuted, so I can hear
yes.
Saturday or Saturday morning or evening, what's happening in the family.
Conversation.
No, but yeah, that's the name. But Virupāksa also means scary, distorted, disformed. But Virupāksa is for Lord Shiva also. Okay, anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Just like that, Prabhu, I was also thinking, we see these things in the movie, but the original creator is Valmiki.
Yeah.
All of this is the reflection of what's happening there. That was one appreciation of that. And the second thing was, this is something that I've heard in another lecture. I'm sorry, I forgot where I heard it or the source of it. And so that's the point of the question, is that, the speaker said something like, Arjuna, after the war, Mahabharata war was done, he sighed and, he was satisfied. What a war that was. And then Hanumanji said, you didn't witness what happened in Ramayana, and we can sense that that's what is happening over here. So I guess my question was, is that, have you heard of that?
Yes, I've also heard it. I've heard it. I also don't know the source, but it was really sweet. Hanuman is on the flag, and Arjuna is like, what a war. And apparently Hanuman says, what war? So Arjuna is like, what do you mean? 18 days we've been fighting. He said, yeah, but that's, you're relaxing in the evenings, nursing your wounds. That war, which is coming up in a few chapters, I think in about 10 chapters, even Valmiki, who is the king in the entire field of devotional poetry, who is the king of giving the best analogies. Today we heard, right? 2 oceans clashing with each other, clouds being pushed by wind, and what was the other one? Something else in the early part. His analogies are so vivid that when it comes to the fight between Rama Ravana, he has no analogies to give. So there is a certain nyaya for it, that you cannot assign any analogy. There are 3 things in that verse that Valmiki says. That for the sky, you cannot give an analogy. You can't say the sky is so vast, like, because the sky is the most vast or vastest entity. Or as deep as, for the comparison of an ocean, as deep as what? The ocean is the deepest. And so he says, Rama Ravana Yuddha was like Rama Ravana Yuddha. There's no comparison. Anywhere in the history of the universe, there's no fight like that. So some things cannot be compared at all.
So that is from Valmiki himself.
It's coming up in a few chapters. A beautiful verse.
Okay.
Not this part of the Hanuman. I think so what we hear is Aitiha, sort of a lore, if you will. The Hanuman's describing, this is not a fight. This is not war. I mean, it's big, but What was fought was passed as morning and night. In the night, the Rakshasas were becoming stronger. We fought in the dark. We didn't know who we were clawing and biting and fighting. Nobody could see anything. It went on and on and on. Yes, crazy. The fight, the battle scene. There's a river of now when we say river, sometimes we have an idea of a river as like a tiny stream. No, mighty river of blood carrying bodies, arms, heads, legs, helmets, weapons, arrows, and they're standing in the middle of it and fighting. Even language cannot describe it. Certainly not mine. We are getting to hear Valmiki's first-hand experience of that war, although he's not on the battlefield, but he was the blessings of Lord Brahma, so he can see every minute detail, what they are feeling, what's going on. Oof. Anything else you want to add? Oh, okay.
So, Prabhu, yeah, how many days did the war go on in Ramayana?
Many days. There is a whole number. Some acharyas have counted. I don't have that number with me. I think Shamakund may know.
Okay. And secondly, is Valmiki Ji's experience similar or role similar to how Sanjay was seeing the war? And would you like to elaborate in that context?
No, I don't like to elaborate. I don't know if Sanjay was experiencing the feelings, although we hear what Arjuna was experiencing, right? He says, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, when Arjuna Vishada is happening, although it's not live, it was narrated later. What we hear in the Bhagavad Gita of Arjuna sitting down is happened first and narrated later. But he has absolutely the experience of what the feelings are, what Arjuna is going through, right? In the beginning is this Vishada, and later during Vishwarupa is Adbhuta, is shocked, fearful. So he's getting that idea by Vyasadeva's grace. Okay, anything else? Final?
Sorry,
Okay.
Prabhu, one more clarification. So, in case of Valmiki Ji, in case of Valmiki Ji, he was the whole war was revealed to him, or was he watching?
I don't know what you mean,
experiencing
revealed or watching. Lord Brahma told him that you will see. So this is when Ramayana was composed. After Ramachandra became the emperor, he came back from Lanka and was crowned the emperor of Ayodhya. And more technically, it is when Sita arrived at his ashram. So the Ramayana says, Prapta Rajasya, Ramachandra had become the king. Lord Brahma told him, you will see on your palm, in the size of a amalaka, a gooseberry, everything that happened. And while you are seeing it, you will know every detail of every person. Not only know the detail, you will feel the same emotions they are feeling. You will also know what's happening inside each person. What is there, where their heart and minds are moving like. You will have full access.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Okay, we will end with this. Thank you very much. We will meet next time where the war will continue, where Sugriva and Mahaparshva, the one with great sides or flanks, will face off with each other, and we'll see what happens. Because right after that, you can expect, as soon as Mahaparshva is killed, what will happen? There is Ravana on the battlefield, and Rama-Ravana war will begin. Oh, I'm thrilled, shuddering at the same time, to be with all of us, to walk through. Those are long chapters with lot of details, and we'll take them as they come, and as Sri Hanumanji inspires us all, and gives us the thrill as we walk through those chapters. Okay, until then, Shri Sitarama Lakshman Hanumanji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.